Who's ready for an impromptu tea spill sesh? Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Emma Cownley. I'm a freelance copywriter and blogger, and today I wanted to do a little story time about a time when I allowed a client to gaslight me and walk away without paying a significant amount of revenue. I'm going to be straight with you. This is the third time I filmed this video. The first time I think it was a bit too close to the actual events and I was just upset. And every time I watched the video back to try and ascertain whether or not it was in fact valuable to other people, I don't think it was. The second time I filmed it was actually this morning, and there was a lot of room for improvement. So I've decided, film it again. This is a time of day when I would never normally film. It's end of day on a Friday. But I thought, I need to tell this story. This shit needs to happen. It's helpful to see that stuff like this does happen. And also there's a lot of things that you can learn and take away from this that will help you if you find yourself in this position, or even will prevent you from getting to the place that I ended up in. Hello, it's Editing Emma here. I'm currently in the future of this video, but in the past of you watching. Anyway, I thought it was really important to come on here and just let you know that I did get a call from this particular client yesterday, and they apologized for everything and paid me everything that was owed upfront, lump sum, on the spot. And we left everything on very good terms, no ill will on either side. We kind of chatted through the situation that happened and how both of us can not make those same mistakes in the future. So I thought it was really important to come on here and just let you know that that's how the situation has played out. I did film this a few weeks ago. The video you're watching a few weeks ago. And so I did want to make sure that everything's completely clear, but I will keep the full story of what happened in the video. And I think it's very important to look at the lessons that I learned in this so that you don't make those same mistakes. Just because I got incredibly lucky in this situation. It could have gone a lot worse and I could have not got that money. So it's important to look at how the situation slowly escalated and what I did and what I learned. So it's still relevant, but in this particular instance, I was lucky enough to get the money. Just wanted to let you know. Let's get back to the video. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the story without mentioning who the client is, and then what we can learn from this going forward as freelancers to protect ourselves and to make sure that we are getting the money that we are owed. So let me take you back to 2017. I picked up a client, one of the first clients that I ever picked up, and this particular person was setting up a brand new business, and I helped them create their branding, roll the branding out, and then I stayed with them for the next 2 years, working with them on retainer 2 days a month to help fulfill their content needs, whatever those might be. And I also picked up a few extra ad hoc jobs here and there. Over the course of this time, I did become quite good friends with this particular client. I valued them quite highly. They were great to work with. All of that kind of started to fall apart after about a year and a half because they were a startup company. Cash flow was sometimes a bit of an issue, so I would go a month or two without getting paid, and then the client would then backlog the payment and I'd get that through in a lump, which isn't ideal, but it's fine. I understand, if you're a startup, I totally get it. I enjoyed the relationship, the work was steady, so I was happy to let that go. Fast forward to May of 2019, I have at least 4 or 5 invoices overdue. Not only that, but this client has become incredibly difficult to get hold of. I'm trying to find out what my brief is. I'm getting a rushed phone call, or just, I'm on the company Slack chat asking, do you need me on Thursday? You said you did. Like, I'm finding it hard to get hold of anyone. What's going on? I can see everybody talking around me and ignoring the message. And I want to point out, this is not just a pride thing. It's rude. It's just rude. If you've booked out time and you don't need it, that's fine. Let me know. I'll reallocate it. It's not a problem. Just let me know. Don't leave me there like a lemon. That was a sidebar. Let's get back on track. So, May of last year, I decide this isn't going to work for me. Not only are the payments late and inconsistent, but also the communication is just not there. And I'm starting to feel like maybe you don't need me as much as perhaps you thought you did. And I'm ready to move on because the relationship isn't great anymore. So I send a very respectful, nice email. I wish this person well. I want to see their brand grow. I'm excited for them and to see what they're going to achieve. I send along all of the outdated invoices and I say, here's everything you owe, would be great to get this, best of luck, I'm off ski, which is great. I then spend the next 8 months chasing these invoices. And this is a significant amount of money that I'm due. And every time this person is like,
don't you worry, the money's coming, just a little while longer, I promise, I promise, I promise.
And I'm there like,
yeah man, it's fine, whatever you need.
So January of this year, I decide, no. I'm starting to feel really mugged off here. So I go to the freelance community, reach out to a couple of select individuals and just ask them, has this ever happened to you before? What would you do? And it's at this point, they turned around and told me if I was owed that amount of money, I'd lose my fucking shit. Why haven't you done anything before now? Why did you leave it so long? You need to get on this. Sort yourself out. And at that point, I realised I'd been a huge mug. I'm supposed to be a businesswoman. So I let the client know I would like these invoices paid by the end of January. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to file a debt collecting claim against you. Please don't make me do this. I really don't want to. I thought we had a great relationship. I'm just asking for the money that you owe me. The client responded telling me that they were disappointed that I had decided to do this. The reason I hadn't been paid is because the money just wasn't there and that I was being unreasonable. The client then proceeded to go into a long spiel about the financial difficulties that they're in, and I felt dreadful. I felt like I was the worst until somebody came along and pretty much metaphorically slapped me in the face and said, if they can't afford to pay freelancers, they shouldn't be hiring freelancers. And I thought, quite right. So even though it goes against even though it's something I would never normally do, I did go ahead and file a claim against this client. I felt relatively confident that it would be successful, but after 10 business days, it turned out that they hadn't been able to get that money back for me, and I was faced with the decision whether or not I wanted to take this to small claims court. And I'm not going to go into details about the particular situation that I was in, but after working it all out and kind of projecting down the line, I realised that I would end up spending more money than I would be able to reclaim. And the anxiety and upset that this whole thing had caused me up until this point just meant that it really wasn't worth it to me. I really, really don't like... I was upset that I had been put in the position where I felt I had to do this. So I decided to just let it go. Full disclosure, I should also mention that this particular client did send out an email at the beginning of the coronavirus lockdown, which, by the way, I'm currently still in. If you're watching this in the future, I hope you're enjoying your freedom, assuming that you are free by the time this video goes live. Anyway, this client sent out a blanket email, presumably to all of their debtors, to say that times were very, very tough for the business and they would try and pay back as soon as possible. And I was included in that blanket email. So I do kind of assume that this person does intend to pay me back in the future. And I should mention that they have cleared one of the 4 outstanding invoices. They did that just before I filed for debt collection, probably as a way to placate me. But I still think that there are some very important lessons to be learned here for other freelancers, and I still did want to share this story as a cautionary tale. And what can we learn from it? So what can we learn from it? Good question. The first thing we can learn is that clients are not friends. We can be friendly with clients, we can like clients as people, but as soon as we take that relationship from a business relationship to a personal relationship, we lose all our footing as professionals. When there are invoices that need to be chased, or things you need to push back on, or when they overstep your professional boundaries, rather than feeling like you have to concede as a friend or do a favour as a friend or give a freebie as a friend, you still have the professional footing to be able to turn around and say no. Keep it clean, keep it smart, keep it professional, and walk away. Whereas I kept doing favour after favour after favour, digging myself into a hole. I was willing to screw myself to help somebody else's business. And they were also willing to screw me to help their business. So, clients are not friends. I'm sorry that it has to be this way. I really am. The next lesson is to have clear payment terms in your writer's agreement and on your invoices, which state when you need to be paid by and whether or not there will be any interest fees incurred for late payment. I did have this on my invoices, but because I was friends with the client, I conceded and just gave away all my power. If you need a writer's agreement template, I'll pop a link for you in the description box below to where you can find a really good one on pro copywriters, but it is essential that you have that written down so that there is no wiggle room for the client when they start to dick you around with money. They've essentially already agreed to your payment terms and they need to meet those. Now, legally, you are allowed to claim statutory interest on late payments for your invoices. This will typically be 8% plus the Bank of England base rate. Again, I'm going to leave a link for you below where you can go away and find out more on that and how to calculate what the interest fee is. So do make sure that you have that in writing in front of the client where necessary. Next up, you need to know what your professional boundaries are. What are you willing to accept? You need to have that perfectly clear in your mind so that when somebody crosses that boundary, you're able to say, no, you don't do that. You don't pay me a month late. You don't ignore my emails when I'm trying to ask you what you need. You don't talk to me in that way. It's unprofessional and it doesn't make me feel good. Those are all things that you need to do for your own protection and personal safety, but also as a business. I mean, you owe it to yourself. I did fire a client in 2018, I think it was. I used to get a huge portion of my revenue from this particular client. Unfortunately, they had a really irksome habit of negging me. They had quite rigid and specific views about what femininity is and what makes an attractive woman. And unfortunately, I fell outside of those expectations. And they really wanted me to know it. So there came a time when I decided I was really sick of hearing about how unattractive I was. And I fired them. Because my integrity means more to me than a nice, fat, juicy paycheck. And let me tell you, that paycheck was bitching. So know what you're willing to accept. And stick by that, because as soon as you give someone an inch, they will take a mile, I promise you. Finally, Do not be afraid to threaten debt collection and follow through with it if you feel you need to. So you say what your payment terms are. You can give maybe a week late chaser, maybe a 2-week late chaser, and then you bring in the big guns. And normally when you do threaten debt collection, the client will pay up. I have it on good authority from many of my freelance friends. As soon as you say that, they manage to find the money and it is all good. Failing that, you do go to debt collection, and I will leave some links and resources for you below of the ones that I used. It's free to do it, very, very easy. They will claim the interest fees that the government interest fees as part of their payment, so you don't need to pay them, and they'll do all the legwork for you. So usually that's successful. I think I'm one of those very rare cases where they were unsuccessful, unfortunately. So that option is there for you. Don't be afraid to use it, because I left it way too late before I took that action, and I really shouldn't have. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you found this useful. And if you didn't, maybe we can commiserate together over my lost earnings and my sadness. If you've got any tips for people that are trying to chase late payments or have clients that are dodging their emails over payments, you can leave a comment below and give your advice, or you can find me on Twitter at @EJCownley and we can chat about it there. Until then, I'll see you back here, same time, same place, in 2 weeks for more Kiss My A's. Take care. Peace out.